Right when Dr. Starline and Agate arrived at the maximum prison, where they held some of the worst criminals, ranging from humans to anthropomorphic animals, it began to rain outside. "Here we are," Dr. Starline announced. "Everhold prison." He then turned to Agate and said, "Now, Agate, are you sure you want to go in there? It is pretty dangerous." "Yes," Agate said, nodding her head. "I'm sure." She wanted to go with her friend for being his accomplishment to his first part of the plan. "Well, all right," Dr. Starline replied. "Just stay right by me, okay?" "Okay," Agate said, taking his hand in the process. They began to walk inside the building, where they met with the warden, an anthropomorphic dog of the prison. When he saw the two, he began to ask questions. "Who are you?" the warden asked. "Who let you in? And who is this little girl?" "Please calm yourself, warden," Dr. Starline simply said. He took out a blank sheet of paper and used his glove to hypnotize the warden into tricking him. "I'm here for the job interview, remember?" the platypus lied. "The maximum security wing. I think my resume meets your requirements." He also looked up at Agate with a confused look on her face. "Oh, and this little girl is my niece," he said. "Your niece?" Agate asked. "Just play along," Dr. Starline whispered. Now hypnotized, the warden took the paper and said, "Oh yes, this is exactly what I was looking for." "Let's head there now," Dr. Starling suggested. Don't forget the keys, Of course," the warden said. "I like your enthusiasm." The human officer looked at the warden with confusion as he looked at Agate. "Is that your uncle?" he asked, referring to Dr. Starling. "Of course. Yeah," Agate lied. "I'm here because I can't stay home alone." "All right. Okay," the officer said. Even though he was not fully convinced, he decided to tag along with them, just to be sure. When the warden came to his senses, he found himself in the elevator with the human officer, Dr. Starline and Agate. "What happened here?" he asked. You were taking us to the maximum security wing for our tour," Agate said. "Oh, of course," the warden said. "The position has been hard to fill. These inmates that we're holding in some sort of worst in the world. In fact, most of them have gone as far as to fight a hero named Sonic the Hedgehog," the officer added. "Goodness," Dr. Starling said. "How frightful." "Oh my," Agate joined in. They arrived at the maximum security wing when suddenly someone was calling for the platypus. "You there," the voice shouted. "Hurry, you've been tricked. Let me out of this before it's too late." The warden looked like banging on the cell door, begging to be free. Although the noise frightened her a bit, Agate hugged Dr. Starling for comfort. "It's okay, Agate," he said, calming the little girl down. "It's all right. He's not gonna hurt you. That's Mimic, a spy and assassin to adept to Dr. Eggman," the real warden explained. "He betrayed his teammates and framed Sonic numerous crimes, and the list goes on." Agate took a little closer look at the supposed warden, and then while his 6-year-old hazel eyes turned to black Sekiro with white eyes. Not long after, the shape shifted himself to mimic the octopus. "Don't sell me short, warden," he warned. "I am a professional. I don't care if you approve of my work." Of course, Agate was pretty frightened by Mimic's appearance and hugged Dr. Starline tighter, who at this point was concerned for her well-being. "Don't worry, little girl," the officer said. "He ain't gonna get ya. They don't call it the maximum security for nothing." "It's all right, officer," Dr. Starling said, reassuring him. "My niece was just surprised. I'm sure that she'll remain calm when we continue along, right, Agate?" Although still nervous, she nodded her head yes. "See," Dr. Starling said, "she's a brave little girl." She playfully rubbed her hair, and causing her to forget all about her fears of Mimic the octopus. But then his attention was turned to the Skunk Brothers. "And who these two goons be?" he asked the warden. "Those two are rough and tumble," the warden stated. "They're neither skilled nor bright, but they still manage to cause trouble." "What did they do?" Agate asked curiously. "Well," the warden began, "they've held 2 towns hostage who work for Dr. Eggman, and just for this year, Rough and Tumble were just playing tic-tac-toe in their cell. However, they were starting to get bored. Whatever they should have make a take over Barricade Town," Rough growled. "Wouldn't you agree, Tumble?" "Yeah," Tumble said. "Now, how are we supposed to know that these are all those Wisp-Buns?" Soon enough, their attention was shifted to Dr. Starling and Agate. "Hey," Ruff called, Dr. Starline, what you doing here? Why did you bring this little girl here? Tumble asked. My uncle told me that I can come with him, Agate answered, although Daddy told me never to go to places that are dangerous by my standards. Oh, Ruff said, while all mocking the little girl. What do you think what Dr. Eggman says? No, Agate exclaimed. Bet you do, Tumble chuckled, taunting her. Bet your daddy's little girl. Agate growled lowly while the skunk brothers were mocking her father, but then Dr. Starling placed his hand on her shoulder. Don't give him any attention, dear, he reassured her. They just love to try and make a fuss. Warden, the officer said, are you getting us where this is coming from? The warden was stumped by his occurrence. You know the four each other? He asked. Yeah, we do, Tumble answered straight out. That's Dr. Starline, Sonic Eggman fanboy who works for him. I have no idea who this Eggman is, Dr. Starling lied. Do you know who Eggman is, sweetheart? No, Agate insisted. No. I have no clue who Eggman is either. Don't give us that, Ruff snapped. We ain't stupid. You're working for Eggman, and you're Eggman's daughter. I knew it, the officer said. Why you? The warden began. Uh-oh, Agate said, in a worrying manner. But the platypus took her side and placed his left hand in front of the warden and said, Sleep. This caused them to sleep on the floor, falling asleep in the process. The officer went down on his hands to try to check on his worker. Warden, he called. Warden, are you all right? Of course, the warden was all right, but he was dead due to the world. But the officer then stunned in this revolution and ran out of the wing to send backup. What was that all about? Agate asked in amazement. Oh, I have a very variety of tools, Dr. Starling explained, and I know what's best to use them. Oh, Agate responded. That's so cool. His attention shifted to the octopus and the skunk brothers, who were stumped and annoyed with him. Dr. Starling began to explain. Gentlemen, it hurts to say this, but I was wrong. Dr. Eggman is not the marvel I thought he was. He used me as my friend here, just like he used all of you. But I won't allow that indignity to stand. Neither should any of you. I have a plan, and together we'll combine our skills and get revenge on Dr. Eggman. So what do you say, fine gentlemen? Agate asked. Are you in or in? I think you mean, are you in or out? Dr. Starling whispered to her. I know, Agate whispered. I just wanted to add the enthusiasm. Either way, Mimic brushed off the offer and said, Hard pass, I don't do teams anymore. This shocked Dr. Starline, but he decided to make a bargain with him. Think of it as a business partnership, he stated. I will need your skills for my plan to work. In return, I will delete you from Eggnet. Dr. Eggman will have no record of you, and you'll be free of this surveillance. Mimic thought this over a minute or two before saying, Alright, fine, I'm in. But don't you think that I'm into this teamwork trick? No way that we're working with you, Ruff said, putting his foot down. You abandoned us the minute you've joined the Eggman Empire. This was required by Dr. Eggman, Dr. Starling explained. I had no idea that would do to you. We ain't chumps, Tumble snapped, and pull the other one. The platypus fought of the bargain for the skunks and said, Tell you what, I'll build your weapons to crush your enemies for free. The bargain took a little off convincing for the brothers. That's more like it, Ruff said. Oh, make me a tail-shaped, Tumble suggested. Of course, Dr. Starling said. In case, welcome aboard, my fellow men, he announced. The announcement came a little too late because the alarm suddenly sounded off and exits automatically slammed shut. Oh my gosh, Agate said. Dr. Starline, the warden's up, and the platypus took notice of the warden who had just woken up from his hypnotic slumber. The whole prison is now on high alert, the warden said, letting out a smirk. Not that you'll be getting out, that only door answers your voice. He got up from the floor and dusted himself off. Thanks for the nap, though, he said sarcastically. It was lovely. Dr. Starline? Agate asked. What are we gonna do? No worries, Dr. Starline said. He kicked the warden with all while using the nitrotoxin to inject him. This type of action knocked down the poor warden out again. As you can see, my dear, Dr. Starling explained, my heel spurs are loaded with mild neurotoxin. That should keep him out for a long time. He took out the keys from the warden's coat pocket and gave it to Agate. Eggett, go unlock Rough and Tumble's cell, he commanded. I'll try and use my electro spurs to unlock Mimics, okay? Eggett complied, and immediately she unlocked all the cells where Rough and Tumble were locked in. Thanks, girl, Rough said. Yeah, thanks, Tumble joined in. Dr. Starline front shaped away to Mimic's cell and used the electro spurs to free him. This worked. Finally, Mimic said. Then he shapeshifted into a warden and pressed on the intercom. Security authorization Beta Gamma 01, he announced. What does that mean? Tumble asked. I don't know, Rough answered. I don't even watch shows that have jails. Regardless of their confusion, they tossed and knocked out the warden into the Mimic's cell. Thank God for all the times, Tumble said. Don't get too comfy right here, Rough stated. The human officers and anthropomorphic animal soldiers rushed into the wing to check on the condition. Warden? The officer said. What's going on? Is there something wrong? The bird soldier asked. Mimic's breaking out of his cell, the warden cried. He's not out yet, but I need one of the officers to pacify him. Officer, you're with me, and you two soldiers follow us. Little did they know, Dr. Starline and the Skunk Brothers were waiting for the opportunity to strike. Sleep, Dr. Starline commanded, putting the bird soldier in sleep in an instant. Hands in the air, the cat soldiers shouted. Rough and Tumble will sneak from behind it and knock down the officer and soldier out cold. Why are we rushing? Rough demanded. Use your hypnotic gizmo on everyone. It's a percussion instrument, not a coward control, Dr. Starling explained. If we escape, we would need to shut down security and... His plan was interrupted when officers surrounded him into the corner. Halt! One of them shouted. Surrender now! They began to wonder what they should do at this point. Mimic turned to the warden, and Dr. Starling whispered to the octopus. Tell them to stand down. They'll see me change, you moron, Mimic whispered back. Maybe you'll get Eggett to distract them. The octopus turned to Eggett and asked, Hey kid, why don't you distract the officers? I could do that, Eggett said. She then walked over to the officers and acted cute while making a sad, teary face. Please, officers, she begged, don't be such meanies. We're only just here to see our friends. Please don't throw us in jail. The officers were skeptical about trusting this little girl. While the distraction was going on, Rough and Tumble shoved the others aside, all while chanting their rhyme. Time to smash some heads, Rough exclaimed. Gotta make them crumble, Tumble added. They both announced, It's a breakout time for Rough and Tumble. With that being said, they knocked out the officers by bopping them in the nose and headbutting them. That's what you get. That's what you get, Rough taunted in a sing-song voice, while Tumble yelled like a jungle man and pounded his chest with his fists. Little did they know, the soldiers were surrounding them as well. Rough stuttered. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs, Tumble said. Any ideas, Eggett? Dr. Starline asked in desperation. I have one, Eggett said. She took out a magnet that caused Wispon to attract to it. Then Rough and Tumble knocked out the soldiers as well. Gotcha, Rough exclaimed. In your face. Tumble then taunted them. Come on, everyone, Dr. Starling said. Let's get moving. I'll scout for the stragglers, Mimic said, shapeshifting into the warden again, and he spotted one of the soldiers and called, You! Hand over your Wispon now! Of course, the dog soldier said, yet that he was quite confused by the warden wanting him over his Wispon. But why? He asked. For basically aiding a jailbreak, you gullible one, Mimic answered. He then shot the Wispon at the soldier, sending him flying towards the door. The door that the soldier crashed on led to a control room, where several screams that showed all the prison Rough and Tumble were able to take it out for the booth security workers. One of the human anthropomorphic dog was punching them in the faces. Control room secure, Doc, Tumble stated. Excellent work, Dr. Starling said. He went over to his computer in an attempt to shut off all the alarms. Hey, I got an idea, Doc, Rough said. What's that? Dr. Starling asked. Not only that you should turn off the alarms, Rough suggested, but you should also unlock the cells. Yeah, Tumble agreed. This sent the entire prison into chaos and scrambled communications while you're at it. The platypus smiled in sincerity at the suggestion and said, All right, Zerryman, Dr. Starling said. He was working on providing the accommodation system. Rough and Tumble and Mimic were in the conversation amongst themselves. So, Rough began, So we're doing this? I mean, working with the bozos? I ain't got better ideas, do you? Tumble asked. No, not really, Ruff said. If you could get to the Eggman off my back, then I'll take that as a fair accomplishment, Mimic hoped. Suddenly, all the cell doors opened, and one by one, all criminals came out of their cells. They started to make their way down to the soldiers and the officers as soon as they were released. They were overwhelmed with the crooks and felons running through the rampages, and most of them managed to evacuate the prison. Some of them, on the other hand, weren't so lucky, as they were injured while attempting to get away. Things got out of control out of the fire somehow and started the facility. Walking away from the madness were Dr. Starling and Eggette, with their newfound minions, Ruff and Tumble, Skunks, and as Mimic the Octopus. Splendid debut, everyone, Dr. Starling declared. Now that we're all warmed up, it's time that we do some damage for the real. But before we could do all that, Eggette suggested, anyone come up with Chinese? Whoa, Ruff declared. I like Chinese. Me too, Tumble joined in. I would like some duck, Ruff said. I would have some pork, Tumble said. I'll take chicken with vegetables, Eggette said. And I'll just have the vegetables, Mimic said. Are you sure you don't want anything else with them, Mimic? Eggette asked. I'm sure, Mimic said. Besides, I'm going on a vegan diet. I'll take chicken with rice, Dr. Starling said. Do you all get that down, Eggette? Yeah, Eggette replied, writing down everyone's orders. I'll give the Chinese restaurant a call along the way, Dr. Starling replied. Now that Eggette had a team, he could finally put his plan in place. With all of his goal on taking the control of the egg-based Sigma successful, or will it collapse by Sonic and the Hedgehog and his friends? Will Dr. Starling be able to handle a group of criminals during the process of even accomplishing his goal? Only time will surely tell.